Hello, Beat Check listeners. I'm Andre Meunier, and I'm the beer writer for the Oregonian and Oregon Live. And today I am with Brian McMenamin, the man himself who, with his brother Mike, founded the McMenamins pubs that today you'll find all across Oregon and Washington. They're a legend. I'm sure you've been to one, maybe more than one, more than likely. We're going to talk about McMenamins' 40th anniversary, which is next month in July. We're going to take a look back at its history and forward to its future as well. So let's get started. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time to speak with me. I know you're not always the biggest interview guy.
Well, you know, we're worker bees. I mean, we like to do our stuff and stay out of that stuff. But you know, I get it. Yeah.
Speaking of worker bees, what's it like to be Brian McMenamin these days? Are you retired? Are you still out kicking the tires on properties? Are your kids running the show?
Oh, the kids are, the next generation's in. My brother's 3 kids are in ownership as well as my son, which is great. So it's more about getting them on board, letting them see everything. You know, we do a lot of meetings just to talk about where we're going and what we're doing. And, yeah, step back a little bit, you know, let them do their thing. They're going to see it differently and do it differently, which is exactly what they should be doing. So it's been fun. Yeah.
It looks like it's been fun.
Yeah. I mean, somebody asked me if I was going to retire, and I go, I've never worked a day in my life, so what would I retire from? I know that's a used term, but I love our places. I still love going to them. I love talking to people and all that.
The last one you did, correct me if I'm wrong, was Tacoma?
That's correct, yeah. And that was just before pandemic. In fact, it was about 6 months. So we'd never really got our legs underneath us. So that was a tough one. But
it's beautiful.
But it really worked out. That was, I mean, it's our last one, right? So we did so much there. And once you start down that road, you can't go back. You have to finish. We just went way over the top on that one, and it was really fun to do that. Just letting it all go, and yeah, I think it came out great. I wish everybody could get there and see all of it. I mean, there's a lot to see there.
And the name of it is
McMenamins Elks Temple.
McMenamins Elks Temple. And so, any sneak previews of what you might have coming up in the future?
Yeah, we're working on stuff. We had a lot of stuff lined up before, the hiccup with the pandemic, but we're getting back on board. We're expanding Kalama. We have a little building up there that we're doing right now, which is next to our hotel up there. So we're doing that for some catering space and like a sports bar, but it's right on the river, so it's incredible. And down the road, we've been sitting on permits for Cornelius Pass Roadhouse Hotel in the back. So we're getting there on that one. And then, obviously, a lot of work to do at Edgefield. We've got a lot of acreage there that we're sitting on and working with the city of Troutdale to get that up and running. So there's a lot of stuff there. It's just, it's been tumultuous few years.
I could have used that hotel at Cornelius Pass a year ago. I threw my wife a 50th birthday in the Roundhouse Barn.
There you go.
It
sure.
Was just awesome, but could have used
Great.
it.
Well, yeah, we're overdue. We've been talking about it for about 4 years, and I get tired of talking about it and not doing it, but,
And every time I'm out at Edgefield, people ask me, didn't they buy this jail? They were going to turn it into a hotel? Is that still the plan?
Yeah, that's probably one of the first things that'll happen. We have plans for it and everything going, but everything triggers other things. So there's a lot of Halsey street work with the property we own across the street. So it's a big ticket. Yeah. So we just need to get all of our ducks in a row, which we're getting there. We're getting there.
Well, as I said, McMenamins this summer celebrates its 40th anniversary, which is why we're here. So what better place to start than at the beginning? 1983, you and Mike's first pub, the Barley Mill on Hawthorne in southeast Portland. You guys had been distributing beer and wine before that, as I understand. So tell me what you two were thinking when you bought what had been the Fat Little Rooster.
It's a little bit different story there. Mike actually opened that by himself. He had survived the distributorship that it was a great endeavor. I'm glad he did it because it was an eye-opener for me too, as a brother, watching him run this thing. Didn't work out as well as he was hoped. So he got back into the business and it worked. And it was, I'm glad he got back into it because we had been together earlier than that. But he got back into it and then opened a few more places, and then we got back together in '84. But the true story is '83 is our oldest place now, and that's where we got the 40-year.
So he had sort of self-launched, and then you joined him after that.
Yeah.
But you joined him just a year before the '85 brew pub law that Oregon is famous for. You two became a part of the movement along with the Widmer brothers, the Ponzis, the Portland Brewing guys, Art Lawrence,
correct,
Fred, that changed the law and allowed breweries to sell on premise. Was there a vision for the massive industry craft beer would become, or were you guys just thinking, we want to make a little beer and sell it at the pub?
That's exactly it. We just want to make a little. We loved beer, and we at that time we were selling a lot of different, as many bottled beers as we could find available in Oregon, and as well as draft. And then we started seeing some of these guys come in from Washington, from Northern California. We go, I think we can do that. I mean, we should be able to do that. And we got room back here, sort of. We didn't know where it was going to go from there, but it's more about, if we're selling it, let's see if we can make it. I mean, it's what we do with our burgers and fries. So it sounds simple, obviously. It's way different than that, but the idea was there. Yeah.
I moved to Oregon in '98, and appropriately, the Barley Mill was actually the first pub I ever went to. My friend John Hunt took me there, and its charm still holds a permanent spot in my memory. A little while later, I went to Edgefield, fell in love with the place, its charm. How did you guys come to the McMenamins aesthetic, the art, the feel of it all? You walk into a McMenamins, you immediately know you're there. It's what you're surrounded by, it's the art, it's the walls, it's the feel. Is that an intentional thing you set out to pursue, or did it just kind of naturally evolve?
I think it kind of evolved. It's a good question because we can look back 40 years now and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, it makes sense. But when we're doing it, we were just doing stuff we liked. Maybe it was the music we were listening to, or the books we were reading, or the movies we were watching. And then we got into some old taverns that were for sale for cheap because we didn't have much money. And we got into those and started learning the history of those. So I think it kind of evolved. You just kind of, you grow with the story that it becomes. Yeah, it's been a crazy run, but it's been good.
And did you have some artists early on who were like, what do you think of this style? Or did you have a style, that sort of...
Well, I think it started with one of our managers said, hey, is it okay if I paint something on the bathroom doors or whatever? Sure, why not? Did that. Next thing you know, his brother is doing art, and then, again, 40 years of hindsight gets us to this point. So we eventually evolved to the point that the artists would interpret the history that came with these places, which was real rich and real deep. Edgefield or Forest Grove or Tacoma, Seattle. Just great stories, and it has to be told, but we told it through the artists. They listened to the story, and then they interpreted it in their own way.
If we haven't said this yet, we're sitting in the movie theater of the Kennedy School in Northeast Portland, and I remember walking through here just after it opened and thinking, this is the coolest idea ever. When you walked into this place, what was it like, and what did you see?
It was the coolest thing ever. No, it's just, this place has a special part to our story, I think. It was the first time that the community actually reached out and embraced us to come in and do this project. in the old days, you had to go to a lot of school meetings and a lot of church meetings to explain who you were and what you're trying to do and why you're putting a tavern in their neighborhood. Concerning, I get that. And so we had to do a lot of, I can distinctly remember a woman telling me that there's no way they're going to put a brewery next to my child's teeter-totter. I get that concern. I'm a parent, I have family, so I understand it, but we're more than that. And if we have time to tell our story, I think it helps. But this place was the first time that it seemed, to me anyway, that we turned the corner, that we are doing the right thing, and the community reached out to us to do something in their community rather than having to go the other way around. So it was a big deal.
Well, I used to live less than a mile from here, and I would bring my kids here, and I've watched many movies in this place and eaten a lot of your pizza and beer. And I can vouch that the community is behind it because it's always packed.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's one thing to say the community's behind it; it's another thing to support the business of that.
Yep.
And they've done that, and it's been great. And we grew up in the neighborhood, not too far from here. Played Little League over here at Wilshire Park. So this is our hood too.
Yeah,
so
my kid played it.
I didn't want to screw up our neighborhood. How do you live that one down?
So part of we talked a little bit about preservation and the history, and when you set up the barley mill, originally there was a kitty litter grinder that had turned into a mill at the Cartwright Brewery, Portland.
Correct.
Portland First.
Yes.
You've come to be known as preservationists, history enthusiasts. That's a theme that runs through your properties. Was the mill kind of the genesis of all that? Just a lark, or did you set out at the beginning to be like, hey, we want to go down this road of preserving stuff?
I think we were just embracing whatever we could get for cheap. You start the whole thing from scratch, trying to make something work. If you want to talk about the kitty litter, the barley mill, you started out in the corner. And eventually, I guess, symbolically, somehow it ended up in the middle of the room. Don't know how. I mean, obviously it weighs 2,000 pounds trying to move it. But, somehow stuff like that becomes a little symbolic in, again, the hindsight.
And then it becomes kind of your MO, where you walk through, say, the Kennedy School, and you see all these old things that you would find at an antique store or a barn out in the rural area or something. And
yeah, is there a method to the madness? I don't think so. Who would say African art and this and that and it all goes together? I don't think that's the case. But it sure is fun. It's stuff we like, so we do it.
Do you have sort of a head scavenger now?
Yeah, kind of Mike's kids are, his oldest son is keeping an eye on things now.
Yeah.
And it's a fun job just trying to find all the crazy stuff.
I bet.
We've had great connections over the years with people here in Portland and Seattle that we've worked with.
Yeah.
So, and everywhere nowadays, anyway.
Let's skip over to the business side now. You chose a model for McMenamins that is different from most breweries who brew their beer, sell it over their counters, but also put it into cans and get it out into the hands of distributors so people can find it in grocery stores, right? But you've never done that. Instead, you choose to sell it only on your properties. What was the thing behind that? Why did you do it that way?
I think it's just, we love what we do, and you have to come. Our places, I think, are more about the experience. So we want you to come to our place for that experience. That was hard. That's the part that was hard about the COVID, because it became to go and this and that and the other thing. And it changed perception a little bit, but our places are about coming to the place and learning about the place and what that place means to a community. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it does in our mind. Just that so whatever we produce or do, you have to come to our places to get it. Just seems natural. I mean, I don't know about there's something about putting it on a shelf in a supermarket. That doesn't sound that much fun to me. But I don't know, maybe. But and there might be some value there, but I don't, I just think it's about coming to our places, enjoying them.
You mentioned COVID. That might arguably be the most difficult time you've had with McMenamins. Not being able to be in groceries, distribution might have hurt you, or not having, kind of scaled canning production. In that time, it made headlines that you guys sought investors to help pay off some debt. Can you talk about how hard that time was, and if and how you've recovered?
Well, we've definitely recovered. It was a really hard time. It was the exact wrong time to go out to ask for investment money, because here we are in the middle of what we just went through, and it was not a good time. But we had some really loyal people out there that have followed us for all the years and understand who we are and what we do, and they stepped to the plate. It was awesome to see. I mean, it was with all the stuff that was going on, it was a very bright star in our time. So not to be overlooked on any level, and the investors have been great.
Did you have regrets at that time that you weren't in grocery stores? Did it seem maybe more fun then to be in grocery stores?
No, we did actually expand our products in cans and bottles, and to get to that to-go market. But no, we never really felt a strong urge to do that.
Your properties have been a massive success. So people are coming back. They love the vibe. They missed it. They love the environment. There's also a contingent out there that hasn't always embraced you, hasn't always embraced McMenamins, whether that's the beer snob who poo-poos McMenamins beer, people who complain about the service, say the food is mediocre. Have those criticisms bothered you? Do you think there's any merit in them?
Oh, I think we hear it. Any businessman hears it, or businesswoman. That just goes with the business. So we don't let it really get to us too much, because you invite that. There's people that like what you do, and there's people that don't. That's okay. We just kind of roll with that one. We continue to improve. It's all we can do. We try to make everybody happy. It's impossible, but it's our duty. So we keep after it.
And does that go back to what you were talking about, that you are experience-based? Do you put more of your focus into the experience of the places rather than, say, the food or service?
Oh, God, no.
Things that people complain about.
If we could go in, it would take days to explain what we do every time. If we hear something at all, we encourage feedback all the time. And, we deal with that up front. So no, it's dealt with. If there's a definitive thing, if it's a vibe or something, that's a little harder to get after. But no, we deal with. We try to fix everything we can.
What's your favorite thing to eat here?
Oh gosh, I'm kind of a big guy. I like pizza. So I don't know. I like all the stuff, and I love trying our menus. I eat in our places every day, so it's kind of hard to.
That kind of goes to another question I wanted to ask you, and that's about the breweries. And you chose to have multiple breweries across the properties. How many are you up to now? 20?
Oh, 25.
25.
6, I don't know, somewhere in there.
26 out of 46 properties?
56.
56 properties. 46 in Oregon.
I think. The numbers. Yeah.
Right. How did you go about doing it that way, as opposed to saying, all right, we're going to build a big McMenamins brewery out in Clackamas and crank out the same beer that goes to all the properties?
Yeah, we've fought the big brewery, let's call it mentality. I don't know what it is, but the brewing thing is something you want to get your hands around. It's easier to get your hands around it if it's small and you can identify what it is rather than giant stainless steel tanks. We just like the fact that it's right there in the pub. And you can see it, and you can feel it, and you can talk to the brewer. And it's small. You can try different beers all the time. You can experiment all the time. That's what makes it fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just, a big brewery doesn't sound as fun to me. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I like the fact that we can keep changing and trying new things.
Has it been hard to maintain staffing and brewers and quality across all the properties?
Yes. Something we work on all the time. I mean, you have to. That never goes away. That's why we all do what we do, is to keep after that stuff. You're also chasing down food and beer and wine and cider and spirits and trying to make it the best you can.
Listening to those difficulties, or not difficulties, but the challenges of every day keeping this place running the way it runs, anything you would go back and say, yeah, maybe I would change this model?
No. Don't go back. Go forward. Nope.
You want to take a break and have a sip?
Yes.
Go for it. I'm sitting over here listening to you drinking your beer.
I always do.
Fine Mexican style lager you've got for me. Thank you.
Yeah, we got some pretty good guys. It's hard to get all that. If it's brewing or anything, it's hard to keep it all going. But we got some good folks, and they're working their asses off.
I would imagine it also produces stars that come out of nowhere, and you're like, look at these beers that they just produced out there.
Yeah, I mean, which is great. So listen to our customers. They're the ones telling us if we're hitting a spot or not. That's great.
Do you have a list of alumni brewers that you're proud to say they started here?
Oh, gosh. There's a bunch of them, but, John Harris, who helped us early, he owns Ecliptic Brewing. He was instrumental early in our, he was one of the many instrumental people. But there's been all kinds of folks coming through. It's a great thing about this neck of the woods, maybe as opposed, I can't speak for a lot of the country, but we all got along really well up here. Oregon especially, because that's who we worked with a lot in the early years. But everybody worked together. It was a good team. Great people. And I can say the same for Washington because we've gotten to know them pretty well. Just a bunch of really good, fun people.
What's the idea behind not entering competitions such as Oregon Beer Awards, Great American Beer Festival, World Cup?
I don't know what that would do for us. We're not selling in supermarkets, and we're not out there on store shelves. I don't see a huge value there. I think the value, again, is coming to our place for what our place is, the experience of what we have. It's not that we don't work really hard at those things, and I know a lot of our brewers would love to be out there, but I think the person sitting at the bar to make that decision, whether they're having a good time or enjoying the beer or not.
56 locations in Oregon and Washington. I just found it.
I didn't lie, I don't think. But I don't count either.
I think you do, actually. As far as I've heard, anyway. You've restored at least 20 historical properties. You craft products far beyond beer, cider, spirits, ice cream, coffee. You have gardens that grow food for your restaurants, movie theaters, hotels with soaking pools, concert venues. I could go on. McMenamins is one of the best-known craft brands in Oregon. I can say that with confidence. What do you think the legacy of this place is?
God, we did all that, so 40 years. Yeah, I guess you do a few things.
Yeah.
So we had a good time. I think, we're doing what we want to do. We're doing what we like, and people like that. It's hindsight gives you a different way of looking at things, it's been a lot of fun. And I know I'm overusing that word, but it's fun. I mean, I hope everybody can say, they can look back at a point and say, yeah, it was fun, because it has been. So, and it will continue to be. And hopefully for our kids' sake, it will be fun for them.
Well, I walked in here Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and the place was packed, the pub was packed, and there's kids running around, and clearly people have sought this place out, and they're staying in the hotel and having fun on their summer vacation. And then you walked in, and I saw you walk in, and I thought, I wonder what he thinks walking in here. What does it do emotionally in your gut and your heart when you walk in and you see one of your places like this?
Well, I'm looking at different things. I'm looking at burned out light bulbs and the fact that we got open, and hopefully staffing is correct and we're staying open until a certain time. And
okay, let me rephrase it. Do you ever let yourself kind of soak it all in?
No. We're in the moment. We're in the moment. We're looking at what we're doing, and you know, both my brother and I, and the kids now too, have a kind of a running list of stuff in our head that we look at when we go into a place. And yeah, we kind of go from there, make notes when we are in a place, take the notes back to the big table and say, hey, we need to work on these things. And that's how we, going back to an earlier question, trying to make things right, keep it going.
Well, if you'll ever take advice from a mediocre beer writer, I would tell you to, at some point, stop and take a look.
Well,
soak it all in.
You know, it's been
you guys have changed the landscape, and I know there are communities that are very grateful for what you do.
It's been good. We've met a lot and worked with a lot of great people over the years, and it has been nice this year to reflect back a little bit on 40 years. Yeah, I guess we've been busy. We did a lot of stuff, didn't we?
You did.
But yeah, it's been great. It's been good.
Looking forward to the anniversary stuff this summer?
Yeah, there'll be different things here and there, and it's been fun talking to. I mean, being behind a bar is the best place in the world because you get to talk to your customers. I mean, I don't bartend anymore, but that idea of being able to talk to your customers, I know regulars in a lot of the places, and I love talking to them because they tell me what's going on. They have their insights, and I like it. It's fun. I used fun too many times. Got to come up with a new word.
I'm sensing a theme, though. Brian McMenamin likes fun.
Yeah, well, you have to talk to my wife, too.
When you're in the beer community, if you ever are among other brewers, owners, what's your guys' place in that community, and how do you see the beer community of today, how it's evolving, how it's functioning?
Well, I think it's as vibrant as it's ever been. I think it's awesome. I love going when I travel anywhere. Travel meaning going to Salem, to Croatia, whatever. I love going to brew pubs, little startups, because they have that same passion, for the thing, and I just love talking to those people, and then of course you get to try their stuff too, which is fun. But it's just a neat community of people that have. Yeah, and I think Oregon's obviously been real vibrant in that, and really neat people. I know I said that too many times too, but it's just I like the community that's come up around it, and it's good for the state. It's good stuff.
You must get. I would imagine offerings of thanks and respect for what you pioneers did in '85.
Oh yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. I was just a young kid. I mean, traipsing around Salem. What the heck is that? What goes on down there? And don't know. It was an interesting experience. Opened a lot of doors of opportunities for us, and to see how things work too, because we revisited Salem many times over the years for various deals. But it was fun to be part of that. It's funny because you at the time you don't know. You're just kids. Just God, we can change a law, really? I mean, that's what I was thinking. Thankfully, Dick and Nancy Ponzi, who had been through a lot of that type of stuff with the wine industry 10 years earlier, so they had a good idea how it worked, and because it was new to us.
You, Mike, Kurt, and Rob have some fun?
Yes. We did. I'll leave it at that.
You still talk to either of the Widmers?
I haven't seen them in a while, but yeah, we talked all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good group. Art Lawrence and Fred Bowman, still talk to them. We had to get together a few years ago, I think, at Baghdad Theater for an event. It was fun to see everybody again.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. All of us have gotten a little older. Which isn't that weird?
Yeah. Any last thoughts? You just kind of you have general ideas about things that you wish I had asked you?
No, it's been a good trip for us. It's our company is a little bit different. When this whole brew pub thing came around in '85, we were the odd duck out because we were the restaurant trying to open a small brewery, and everybody else were breweries trying to open a little pub in there. Yeah. So we're still the weirdo, which is okay. I've my whole life I've been a weirdo, so it's good. And it's been neat being that. You talk to a lot of people coming at different approaches, but ours has been what it has been, and we're still here 40 years later to talk about it. So I think that's a good sign.
I think a lot of people would agree with you.
So, yeah.
Well, Brian, this has truly been fascinating and interesting, and I'm honestly honored to have been able to spend this time with you. And for you listeners, yeah, absolutely. For you listeners, I'll be following McMenamins closely through this anniversary and writing more stories in the Oregonian and online at OregonLive.com. So check those out. OregonLive.com/beer is where you can find all of my articles, and I'll have stuff in there about McMenamins anniversary activities. And I believe my colleague Lizzie Acker is going to be ranking some of the McMenamins properties herself.
Wow.
Yeah, you better.
Should I be scared?
You should be scared.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah. No, she's great. In fact, she was out at Edgefield yesterday doing her reporting.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think she played the golf course, which,
yeah.
I guess I shouldn't complain about reporting assignments, but...
It was another rough day at the shop.
I'll also drop links to relevant stories in the show notes here on this podcast where you can read more about McMenamins and the events surrounding the anniversary. And with that, we'll call it a wrap. Thank you, Brian, and thank you all so much for listening to Beat Check with the Oregonian. And if you like this show, give us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. It really helps people find the show. And tell a friend. Help spread the word. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Cheers.